So, today is going to be on the debate, the big debate. So, I'm not planning on going into who said what and who won the debate or anything like that. That's not really the point. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the numbers because it seems like it seems like the media is really, really hell bent on saying it was a flop. Because I mean, I watched it. I watched the debate, so what's I know what's going on here, right? I get it. It was a terrible debate. Like I think everybody gets it that it was just an awful, awful debate. It feels like it shouldn't have happened because it was so bad. You knew going into it you were to expect something different, right? You're like, it's Donald Trump, it's Joe Biden. Trump is the loud, obnoxious, braggadocious guy that, you know, wants to be in the frat party and be the center of attention. Joe is like the reasonable guy, and I don't mean that reasonable and not as an endorsement of his policies or anything, but just like the guy that sits back there in the corner and just quotes Shakespeare or something, like just kind of, not that I think everything that Joe is saying, like imagine somebody babbling between Othello and Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet and just like mixing up lines and stuff and then forgetting which line he was saying and which play he was in. Like that's basically what Joe's doing off on the side. He's just babbling away, saying incoherent things quite often. Honestly, like I'm just going to tell you right now, Joe Biden lies. I don't think that's a big surprise to anybody. So does Donald Trump. Trump lies. I think honestly, if my overall impression and take is, we need a third party. Like I'm really sick of this. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really sick of this. Neither party really represents, I think, the ideals of what we really want in America right now. And there's some good alternatives out there, like Jo Jorgensen. I don't know that I'm going to vote for her, but you look at her, she's a pretty decent alternative to what we've got going on right now. But the only reason why these third parties don't really get any traction is because the media doesn't want them to get any traction. Like if she was up there actually in this debate, we had a debate between two old white dudes, right? We could have had a third party person, a female who's got some ideas, like that might actually have fixed a lot of the problems of this debate. Right? If we just included a little diversity, just a skosh of diversity to the debate stage, I think it would be much more beneficial. Now that doesn't mean we go to the 15-person panel that we get sometimes when we're doing primaries or whatnot. Like that's atrocious because then nobody gets any time to talk. You get like 20 seconds to say, "I'm for more money in your pockets. I'm Main Street guy. Thanks, vote for me." Like, yeah, you don't really get much time in the primaries because they don't really give you much focus or attention, or the things that you would want to talk about, like maybe the major parts of the platform that you want to talk about, right? Like you've got some initiatives and things that you want to deliver and things that you make you a good person that you want to present to America. And because you've got 30 seconds of FaceTime and the questioners are going to ask their set of questions, you might not actually even be able to talk about those things, right? Because you're just going to answer the questions that you're given. And that doesn't really give anybody a really good, solid foundation. I like these more long-form debates, long-form topics. Town halls. I like town halls. I think that's actually probably some of the most informative things because you actually get to hear uninterrupted discussion about where they stand on things and what they want to do and what are their principles and ideas and values, blah, blah, blah. We don't get any of that in a debate, right? Like a debate is about tit for tat, about asking each other questions and trying to pummel your opponent and get sound bites and sound clips that are going to be played in the media and posted up on Twitter. And, that's what debates are about now, which is kind of unfortunate because it doesn't really give us much in the way of anything other than fodder for Twitter, or something you can share on Facebook. And that's not really that doesn't help America in any way, right? That doesn't really help our country grow. So I think one of the first steps that we could make to making these presidential elections better is just to introduce a third party. I don't care if they even win, right? Just some other perspective other than these two people who, like if you think about it, I like the quote. Right now, what we have is the sum total of what happens when you vote for the lesser of two equals for 200 years. That's what we got, is the sum total of the lesser of two equals for the last 200 years. That's what's going on here. Is anybody happy with this? Does anybody think, one of these people is clearly better than the other? And I like diverse opinions. I like to bring in other people's ideas because that's how you sharpen your own. But when you have this division like this, you're not sharpening anybody's opinions. All you're doing is just bashing heads against each other and the winner is going to be based upon popularity, not the best ideas, right? It's going to be, it leads to this ability for some parties to create a Santa Claus caricature of the party, while others become the big bad wolf that's going to come and eat grandma and just create chaos and havoc, and that's the way that things get framed, and that's not the truth of either side, right? That's not what's actually going on. The Republican Party is not a bunch of evildoers who are looking to implement white supremacy everywhere. That's not. Everybody knows that that's not the case. I think, honestly, if you actually believe that Republicans are for white supremacy, you've gone totally off the deep end. I'm sorry to tell you, you are the extremist in the room, if that's what you actually believe. At the same time, if you think that Democrats, all that they're really wanting to do is collect total and ultimate power and implement communist Russia, I'm sorry, but you're also the extremist in the room. And the problem is there's more and more of these extremists in the room because they keep pointing at each other saying that guy is a bad guy. That's what's going on. And the media that we have now cheers this on because that's what improves ratings, right? As bad as we can possibly make these things, these discussions, as horrible as we can make them, that's like watching a train wreck. It's like watching a car accident. It's becoming a rubberneck situation, right? Oh, look, oh, wow, there's a major accident over there on Fox News. We better go turn over and watch it. That's what's going on, right? That's all the media cares about, both sides. Fox News, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC. I think that there's definitely an overall majority bias in one direction, but there's biases on both sides. And it's really kind of funny because you get these major media conglomerates all saying, "Oh, no, we're impartial." And then you watch and they're not impartial. Everybody knows they're not impartial. They have a agenda. They have biases, which is fine. I just wish that they would be honest about their biases. But going back to this idea, though, that we all just kind of want to watch the train crash. We want to see, we want to see the car crash. We want to see. We don't really. I mean, maybe in the extreme fringes, we want to see people get burned, right? We want to see Donald Trump go down in flames and say something that's going to take down his career forever. We want to see Joe Biden, I don't know, have an aneurysm on stage or something and finally, kaput, so we can do away with this whole facade that he's actually the president nominee and it's actually Kamala Harris that's going to be doing it. I think we all understand that Joe Biden is really just a proxy for Kamala Harris. I think we all kind of know that. Yeah, Joe might be able to stick around for a year or so. I don't think he's going to make 4 years. I think that there's some cognitive issues there that we're all just kind of skating around. But anyway, back to, we have one vehicle that is the clown car that is painted every color of the rainbow and honking its horn everywhere, has a big sign plastered on it's like a big sign sitting on top of it, like one of those wedge signs that, you might see pizza delivery guys have. And it's like Republican Party, Trump 2020, and like he's shooting silly string at everybody that he passes by. Like that's the Donald Trump car, right? That's the vehicle driving down the road, is this big, noisy, obnoxious vehicle honking at everybody and doing silly string on everybody's windows as they go by. That's the Donald Trump campaign. The Joe Biden car is this kind of like 72 Buick, just barely kind of coming down the road. It's spitting out some exhaust that's just kind of polluting the air, but doesn't really care about how bad it's getting, and how bad it's affecting everybody behind them. The motor's making noise and making a knocking sound and hasn't been to the mechanic in 3 years because the person driving it thinks that they're the best mechanic. They know their car better than anybody else. Why would I pay money for that mechanic? Right? That's the Joe Biden vehicle. It's got paint chips coming off of it. The cover, right? Whatever remember those old leather covers that would be on the top canopy of a vehicle, right? That's starting to peel away and everything's starting to fall apart. Right? That's the hubcaps are missing. That's the Joe Biden car. And when we get these debates, what we see is these two cars go and everything goes everywhere, right? The signs get plastered all over the road. People start driving down the freeway and bump over it, and that's Chris Wallace. He's following along both of these vehicles, and he gets to run over all the wreckage. Like, that's what's essentially going on, and we all watch it. We watch it. This is. It's funny because the media kind of started coming out saying, "Oh, nobody's watching." Like, it was a travesty. I agree. It was a travesty of a thing. It was an absolutely awful debate. But the people that are going out there saying that the numbers are terrible, they're not terrible. They're not bad. People are watching this. It doesn't mean that anybody's changing their minds. Nobody. I haven't. Look, I don't know a single person that is on the fence about this election. Nobody's on the fence. I think maybe 3% of there was some sort of poll done. I think it was like 2 or 3% of the people are actually undecided this time around. And look, you're going to get people that say, "Oh, I'm undecided," but they really already know, right? People lie all the time about these things in these polls. That's another big thing is the polls are totally all over the place, right? Right now, it looks like Joe Biden has a pretty substantial lead, double digits in some of the swing states. Overall, nationally, he's up by like 6 or 7 points, which, it's funny when you say, "Oh, he's up by 6 or 7 points." Really, you should have that. Whatever they tell you is the point lead, it's actually half of that. That's the thing that's funny about when you say, "Oh, so he's got a 10-point lead." It's really a 5-point lead. Because if you sway 5% to Donald Trump, so let's say Donald Trump is down 10 points, 10%. Well, there's only 100% that you can make up the electorate. So if it's 10%, disparity between the two, that just means Donald Trump is behind by 5. Because if he makes up 5%, if he gets 5%, that detracts 5% from Joe Biden, and then you're at a dead heat that way, right? So it's funny when you say, "Oh, they're double digit point lead." It's really only about 5%. Donald Trump has to convince 5% of the people that plan on voting to change their votes, okay? If you can even say that the polls are accurate. Do we even know that these polls are true? Do we even know that anything that like, if a pollster calls me up and asks me who I'm going to vote for, I think I have a pretty good idea. I'm going to tell him that idea, or maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm so sick of the pollsters. Maybe I'm so sick of the media coverage that I'll go out and say that I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. That's what I'm telling them. And I promise you, I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden because I don't think that he's the right guy. or person, I should say. I don't even want to say guy. I'm just not the right person. But I might tell them that. And it may not be just me, but millions of people that get surveyed, right? Or hundreds of thousands, or whatever the net is of the people that they're calling and asking or petitioning to answer. It could be all over the place, right? They could be answering just because they want to answer the way that the pollster is asking. Maybe how do we know that they aren't like sitting around outside or in a mall or something and they're making phone calls, or the way that they're asking the question would be, hey, are you planning on voting for Joe Biden this year? Are you going to vote for Joe Biden? Just the way that you ask that question could lead people to say yes or no, right? It kind of influences the electorate. It influences the responses that you get. So I don't know that we can necessarily go by what the polls say. We saw that with the last election, right? Like Hillary was supposed to be up just as much as Biden is right now, and she lost. I think that I think we're going to get well, I don't want to give that away, but we'll see. I think that we're going to have a very interesting set of events that happen in the next few months. So anyway, I do want to shift over to, I'm going to transition here. How do I'd like to transition smoothly, but I think it just like jumps over. Yeah, it just, jumps right over there. So this is actually, I'm going to switch over to this one first. So this is the Mercury News. And this is just an article here, and I'll post the link in the description of this video. TV ratings, how many people watched that hot mess of a debate? I think a hot mess is an apt description. Dumpster fire would be another adequate description. Train wreck, car crash, any sort of metaphors for travesties would probably adequately describe what I think is the absolute worst debate that I have ever seen and probably ever will see. I think this was a historic moment in the depravity by which our politics can get in terms of debate decorum. Some people are very apt to blame Donald Trump for this, but I do not believe that it is 100% Donald Trump's fault. In fact, one of the first things that I wanted to point out, if you watch the debate, it's actually Joe Biden that is the first one to jump in and say something over the top of what Donald Trump. So Donald Trump is speaking, and Joe Biden jumps in on top of him and interrupts him. That's actually the first thing, and a lot of people don't realize that. If you go back and watch the tape, Biden is the one that actually interrupts Donald Trump first. Now, that doesn't mean that Donald Trump is off the hook for all the times that he interrupted or anything like that, but just know that it's not all Donald Trump that did this. And again, this is a car crash. This is both drivers are being stupid on the road and have loud, obnoxious, and annoying vehicles. They don't give a rat's ass about anybody else, and all they're going to do is run into each other. And we're all going to watch this spectacle happen live on broadcast TV or on the internet, right? This is what we're doing. And heck, we're doing commentary videos about it. So TV ratings, how many people watched that hot mess of a debate? Many Americans spared themselves the torture of watching Tuesday night's first presidential debate. So first of all, I want you to understand that, yes, many people did spare themselves. But that first sentence may make you think, oh, wow, ratings must have been really down. Like they must have been really, really down, right? That's kind of how they're propositioning it. Jake Tapper described it as a hot mess inside a dumpster fire inside a train wreck. I think that is probably, that's kind of being generous. I think, we should have added some skunks inside the dumpster. Maybe a couple of hobos sitting around outside. Maybe a nuclear warhead that kind of was a nuclear warhead on the train, right? Like, what was that? what was that one train movie? The Under Siege 2, was it? I think it was with Steven Seagal. Like, it's just a total disaster on the train. Oh no, actually, maybe was it? Oh, anyway, I don't want to get too far into that. I'm probably misremembering. Movies just kind of become a blur when you get to be my age. Everything is just a big giant mess. There were movies. One of the movies had a nuclear warhead on it and was being robbed. Like, they were trying to rob and use the nuclear warhead. Some movie like that a long time ago. Anyway, so 29 million total viewers. Now, understand this was published September 30th, right? So that was yesterday at 9:36 a.m. and updated today at 3:42 a.m. So this has been updated, and it still says 29 million total viewers, and then overall a decline of 36% from 2016. That's what they're saying on the Mercury News. I just want you to keep that number in mind. Decline of 36% from 2016. Well, first of all, realize that is 2016. In the larger scheme of things, how do you think Dukakis and Bush Sr. did? What do you think their first debate numbers were? As a percentage of population, even. Do you think that they were anywhere near what people were tuning in and watching on Tuesday? I just want you to think about that for a moment. If you compare just to 2016 and Hillary versus Trump, think back to what that was like. Like, think back to what this scenario was, what the context was around that first debate between Hillary and Trump. Trump had been going through this extensive, I guess you could call it, vetting process, right? There were a series of primary debates where, 16 people were up on stage and, well, I mean, I don't know the actual number, but there was a bunch of people up on stage saying a bunch of different things in 30-second clips, and people were trying to get sound bites, and that was pretty much it, right? So you didn't really get a lot of substance out of Trump. And now what was going to happen was this was going to be a big titanic fight. Donald Trump, this lug of a person who just loves himself, probably stares at himself in the mirror every single moment he gets, is going to now go up against Hillary Clinton, arguably one of the, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it, probably one of the worst human beings in America. Like, she's just horrible. I'm sorry, but there's some really, really shady stuff that she's been involved with that just gets swept under the rug over and over again. You should look into the Clinton campaign or the Clinton Foundation and what's going on with Haiti. Just look into that sometime, okay? Like, she's not a good person. I get it. Politics is politics. And when you get up to that echelon of political people, you're going to have some really bad hombres, right? You're going to have some really bad people in there that are wildly popular. Hillary Clinton was not entirely popular. She was unpopular to kind of the old guard of the Democratic Party. So there was probably some of that. I think it was more like, we're gonna watch Donald Trump hit this brick wall of Hillary Clinton. That's what we expect, right? That's what we expected in 2016 was Donald Trump is going to be the train. Hillary Clinton is going to be the wall that the train runs into. That's what we expected. What we got in 2020 is two cars, like I described earlier, that just have no business on the road at all. They should not be on the road. And we know that they're going to be, they're both heading in the same, in opposite directions at each other and they're trying to floor it, Joe Biden in his beater that can't hardly hit 60 miles an hour, but he's flooring it. We're going to make it. And Donald Trump in his clown car, which, that only goes as fast as you can pedal, but he's pedaling really fast. And they're going head on at each other. That's a very different scenario. It's still a crash. It's still going to be an amazing explosion, but there's not really a contrast there, right? It's two vehicles that shouldn't be on the road. Whereas when it's Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump, it's a car that shouldn't be on the road against a brick wall. Somebody that is seasoned and a veteran of politics, knows how to turn a phrase, knows how to deal with, on the fly with questions that may not necessarily be exactly the type of thing she wants to talk about. Like, we're imagining this is going to be quick on their feet. I think a lot of people just expected that Hillary Clinton was going to mop the floor with Donald Trump. I think that's what we expected in 2016, was a seasoned veteran that is going to mop the floor with this absolute juvenile of a person who doesn't know what he's doing or what he's saying. And to everyone's astonishment, nothing really amazing happened out of that. Like, what's the most memorable moment you can think of out of that debate? I honestly don't even remember it. I don't. And yet we all watched it. It was an amazing car crash. It was an amazing train wreck. But, and we all wanted to watch it. And Donald Trump was the draw, right? It's because it's Donald Trump. It's not because of Hillary Clinton. It's not because of Joe Biden. It's because of Donald Trump that we all watch, because it is going to be a masterful piece of brutality and collision and destruction. It's just a matter of what kind of form is that destruction going to take this time. So 4 years ago, broadcast networks combined for 45.3 million total viewers in the preliminary ratings, according to Hollywood Reporter. That figure rose to 49.33 million after time zone adjustments. After other outlets like cable news were factored in, the Trump-Clinton debate wound up 84.4 million viewers. So really, the total number looks to be about 84.4 million viewers in 2016. Okay? Now they're saying that there's going to be an adjustment upwards, right? And this was updated today. So I find it interesting that the Mercury News, which I wouldn't say that they're exactly a middle of the road or conservative outlet. Let's just say that that's probably not the case. But if we switch over now to the Hollywood Reporter, where these people were getting their numbers from, supposedly were updated, right? October 1st, updated. We look at the actual Hollywood Reporter, again, 8:36. Look at the timestamp on this. September 30th, 8:36. September 30th, 9:36 a.m. So 1 hour after Hollywood Reporter, at least, let's see, 8:36 a.m. Pacific time. And this one doesn't say what time. Great job. We don't even know what time zone. I'm imagining it's either an hour later or it's the same time. So, but anyway, the Hollywood Reporter, this is what they have. The debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden drew a combined 67.4 million viewers. Well, wait a minute. What happened to the 49.33 million? What? How come that's a pretty significant change there? And I think maybe it's because, like I said, there's going to be some adjustments upwards. But you would think that by October 1st, this morning, they would have been able to adjust the numbers that were posted on the Hollywood Reporter. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh. It looks like September 30th updated. Yeah, I mean, there's the final Nielsen figures that are included in the Hollywood Reporter. Supposedly this was updated today, when these numbers were already released, and we're looking at the source by which this news outlet is using. What? How is that possible? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because, it's media, and they suck at their job. They're just, as Ben Shapiro likes to say, I love this phrase, they're just journalisming all over. There's all sorts of journalisming going on. Just awesome. I mean, when you use another media outlet as your source, that should kind of tell you exactly what news reporting has become. This is a perfect example of that's somebody reported this, so I'm just going to use that and then write an article and not actually follow up. Because that's journalisming. All right, so there we go. We got 67.4 million viewers. That's down 8 million viewers. So now we're saying down 11%. Now that's a little bit better, I think. I think that's not so bad, right? Again, 2016 was a what is Trump going to do this time? But now we've had 4 years of the Trump show. We kind of know what to expect. So being down 11%, yeah, I think if you, I haven't done this. Maybe a good, if somebody wants to pull up the numbers and drop a link in the comment or something, if somebody can show the difference in numbers between when it's when there's no incumbent, right? When there's no presiding president involved in the debate, those numbers, if I recall correctly, traditionally are always higher anyway. Because you already know what half of this argument is going to be. You already know, you've had 4 years of exposure to this individual, or 3.5 years, whatever, right? You know what you're getting. So, not really. I know what's gonna be said here. And then, you have the other person who's trying to gain office, which of course there's a technical term that I'm forgetting off the top of my head right now. But, you've got somebody that's trying to be, so you got the incumbent and somebody tell me the word. Somebody post it in chat for me. Anyway. So, yeah, first 2016 debate drew its 84.4 million viewers across 13 networks. Is that even accurate? 84.4. Okay, yeah, so that's the same number, 84.4. But for some reason, Hollywood Reporter says now down 11%. Fox News, now get this. Fox News drew the biggest audience of any individual network, well above its performance of any of the 2016 debates. Now, isn't that interesting? So the overall numbers, and this is the point of the video that I wanted to ultimately get to. You look at the total numbers, and it's down 11%. But if you just look at the Fox numbers, they're quite a bit bigger. Why do you suppose that is? Is that because a bunch of Democrats are now just swapping over to Fox News and watching there? That's possible. I doubt it. I don't think a lot of Democrats. I think they're mostly going to CNN and MSNBC to get their news. Just a hunch. I think that's where they're going. And again, I don't honestly have a dog in this fight. I am not a Trump supporter. I am not a Joe Biden supporter. I'm a third-party person. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to vote for Joe Jorgensen or not, but I'm definitely going to vote for somebody else. So just understand from that background, I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't care about Fox. I don't care about MSNBC or CNN or any of that stuff. What I care about is looking at the numbers and looking at the demographics. And what I see here is more people are tuning in on Fox to get their debating fun, right? To get their entertainment, their debate entertainment, to watch the car accident. They're going to Fox. What does that tell you? What kind of people watch Fox News? Typically Republicans, right? Typically people who might be leaning a little bit more on the conservative side. And we've been hearing for months and months how Joe has this giant lead. Yet the networks that tend to favor Trump a little bit more have higher ratings. Why is that? Is that because maybe the polls are getting it wrong? Like if you have a viewership, again, it's either one of two possibilities. Either the Trump base is actually much bigger than people are thinking right now. They're just not being reported in the polls. Maybe they're not being sampled appropriately. Because typically when you do sampling, they sample according to what they think the electorate body is. And just imagine here and understand this concept about pollsters, okay? They're trying to determine, based upon demographics, the proportion, right? They're trying to represent the proportion of Democrats, Republicans, and independents in their polling. And they run off of the assumption that there are fewer Republicans than Democrats. That is just a built-in assumption. Okay? And they do that off of usually something to do with like voter rolls or something like that. So this built-in assumption is there, and you're not really going to get a lot of people that are independents that are that are Republicans that are going to be changing over to Biden. I don't think you're really going to get that. You might. I know that there was some data about some older folks like in Florida and stuff that were starting to not like Trump and be more in favor of Joe Biden. And then I've also seen some numbers amongst the African American community where like they're expecting almost 35% of African American community to vote for Trump this time around, which would be a crazy number. Like you think about that, that's a crazy number that they're expecting. So people who are registered, if you think about that, if you have 35%, you're expecting a 35% turnout for Trump in the African American community. What have they been registering themselves as? Democrats or Republicans? And in fact, they may vote down ticket for Democrats, right? They may, in their local election, go straight down the ticket Democrat. And then when it comes to the presidential election, be like, I really don't like what's going on the national stage. I'm going to vote for Trump. And that might be where you're getting that, right? That's some of the decision making that might be going on. And you think about that, that kind of fits with what we're seeing here in terms of Fox News. We're seeing maybe the Republican voting registration is a little low, so therefore they do the sample polling based upon, the demographics of the area to try to get their sample sets according to the registrations. That's what they typically try to do, to better represent the electorate. But if you have a bunch of registered Democrats that are at the top of the ticket going to vote Republican for Trump, you're going to really kind of skew some of this information. Nobody knows what's going on. And vice versa, right? You might kind of skew the polling where when you do get those Republicans, I don't know, it just seems like you're not going to be able to get a very good science out of this. And we saw the last time, incumbent runs against the candidate. Can't find a different term, yeah. Anyway. Thank you, Renee. I appreciate it. Hey, good to see you, Renee. Glad you joined us here. It was actually you that sparked the idea that I should probably do one of these. So thank you for the idea. I don't know that I can consistently do them, but why not? So anyway, it's weird that we would see, again, this type of thing where Fox News drew the biggest audience of any individual network, well above its performance from any of the 2016 debates. How do you get that to happen if what we're seeing in the polls is consistent, where, Donald Trump is down by 5 to 10 points? How is that even possible? It doesn't make any sense, right? So I think that there's something wrong with the polls again this year. I think that what we saw back in 2016 regarding polling was just a tip of the iceberg. I don't know all of the methodologies. It's hard unless you actually look at how they are doing things and look at the methodologies of how they're doing the polling. You can't really tell. But when I see this, which is just really the raw data, right? The Nielsen numbers is just kind of the raw data of who's turning in, who's tuning in to watch this thing. And you see that the Fox News contingency is higher than all of the others. That should probably tell you something. Like, it's growing. It's a growing base. How does that happen if Biden is the one that's winning? Right? So, okay. The last thing I want to point out here before I'm going to end the stream. I think there's a large expectation that the next debate is going to be is going to be drop of numbers. And there's a couple of things I just kind of want to say about this. First of all, I'm not even sure there's going to be a debate. I don't think that there will, actually. I don't think that there will, because I forget what the committee is, like the Presidential Debate Committee that's trying to do all these rules and keep everybody on these rules. They've basically said they want to change in the format. And one of the big key things that I think they want to do, and I saw an article earlier that said that what they want to do is allow to be able to shut off the microphones of anybody that's gone over time. That's a pretty typical thing, actually. They do this in debates sometimes in other cases. So they want to shut off the mic, presumably of Donald Trump, and this doesn't help Donald Trump at all, because Donald Trump likes to, we saw, part of his strategy, I think this was actually his strategy, was to go up on stage and just basically talk over Joe Biden. I think that was entirely what his strategy was. So with this debate committee saying, we want the ability to shut off the microphone after your time is over, Donald Trump is going to reject that. I'm not going to go into a debate where you shut off my microphone. That would be evidence of media bias, right? Look. I mean, anybody who watched that debate can identify any neutral party should be able to have watched that debate and identified that Chris Wallace is not an impartial person. I'm not saying he's rooting for Joe Biden. I'm not saying he's rooting against Donald Trump or for Donald Trump or against Joe Biden, but he's not impartial. He's got an opinion about Donald Trump that showed. And Donald Trump kind of played into that, right? Like, he kind of was loud and obnoxious and all those things that we expected. And Chris Wallace thinks that about him. And so basically Chris Wallace and Joe Biden had this camaraderie about, like, let's get this guy to shut up. But that's not what Donald Trump is trying to do. He has a strategy. Donald Trump had a strategy to go out there and basically talk over anything that Joe Biden had to say, as much as he possibly could, so that Joe Biden would look weak. Right? That's kind of how Trump does. He kind of bullies himself into it. Renee says, sad thing is that it shouldn't have to happen. The people that are running should be adults enough to stop when it's time period. I absolutely agree, Renee. And honestly, again, just to kind of go back, I don't know how much of this you saw, but I'm kind of against the debate format that we typically see on TV. I think it's geared and established specifically for this kind of train wreck to happen, right? I think they want this to happen. This improves ratings. If you looked at the numbers throughout history of the election cycle for a president that is currently sitting and is debating, I guarantee you those numbers are going to be lower than when it was just two parties trying to gain the seat, right? That's just what's naturally going to happen because we've seen this person for 4 years. We already know what they are. It's kind of boring. We're tired of the shtick. We might tune in occasionally. We'll tune in and we'll tune out. Everybody I've talked to, by the way, this is another interesting thing that I don't see any graphics on this, but everybody I've talked to about the debate watched the whole thing. They didn't tune out. They watched the whole thing. From beginning to end. They might have picked up their phone and, like my wife and I, we did this too. We picked up Twitter. We just wanted to see what people were saying on Twitter because there was some funny stuff going on Twitter, but we didn't turn off the debate, right? We watched the whole hour and a half of this thing. Whereas in past debates, think about that. How many people were 30 minutes in and turning it off? And we're not really tracking that, I don't think. I mean, I think there's probably some outlets that are tracking that, and it would be interesting to find that kind of data, but I'll bet you it's in percentage, total percentage of the time of the total. I'm saying that terribly wrong, but yeah, how much of the full debate they've actually watched. I'll bet you it was a lot higher because people want to watch the train wreck. And these campaign systems, the debate committees are working with the media to set up a train wreck. They want the train wreck. But when they see that Donald Trump, and by the way, there's a bunch of polling out there about who people think won. It's pretty overwhelmingly people say that Donald Trump won. Okay, yeah, there's some outlets that are saying, oh, well, Biden won because he got better points, but typically they're going to be left-leaning. But if you just look at the raw numbers, most people say that Donald Trump won that debate. So what's the media going to do about that? Because, again, I don't think the media is in Donald Trump's corner. I don't necessarily think that they're all in Biden's corner either, but they're very anti-Trump. But Trump sets it up that way, right? He's kind of that way. So what are they going to do? They can't let this guy win. They can't let him pull this over again. We've got to do something about this loud, obnoxious guy that's causing a train wreck. Yes, it's great for our ratings, but we got to do something we can't let him win. We want the ratings, but we don't want him to win. So let's introduce some new rules where we cut off his mic. And Donald Trump is going to be like, no, that is media bias, fake news, totally fake news. Okay, that's what he's going to do. He's going to cry wolf about the fact that, well, I shouldn't say cry wolf. This is a real deal. He's fighting against the media. and they're going to want to cut off his microphone. He's not going to let that happen. And when he basically rejects that, Joe Biden will be like, see, I can't debate this clown. He's completely, he's unreasonable, which he is. I totally get that. But it's just going to give cover to both sides to say we're not going to debate anymore. So I really don't think we're going to have another debate. I honestly, if I was to give it a percent, I'd say it's probably about 60% chance that we do not have a debate. I think there's still 40% chance it still goes on. Something might be worked out. Okay, Donald Trump's numbers are down, so he probably still does actually want to get into the debate, right? I think he thinks that he can just, if he just gets in front of a camera for long enough, he can convince enough people. That's what Donald Trump thinks. So he may not decline the debate, but I think right now it's a real major sticking point. If they want to cut off his mic, he's not going to want to do it. And as long as he doesn't want to do it, Joe Biden then has cover for why he doesn't want to do it. And so we end up with no debate. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. Again, 60%, 65% maybe, pretty sure that it's not going to happen. Now, if it does happen, I think you're going to see the ratings be just about the same as this one. I think traditionally, after the first debate, the numbers decline. So all the subsequent debates afterwards, they declined in numbers, right? That's traditionally what happens. I think you're going to see just about the same because people are going to want to watch the train wreck. That's what it is. They want to see this. As horrible as we all say it was, as awful and disgusting and riotous as this thing was, we want to see more, right? Renee says, questions that are of them can't possibly be answered with any clarity or with any certainty. The people are hearing answers that they make decisions on, which never wind up occurring. I totally agree with you. Like I said, it's all about ratings. Yep. It's all about ratings. And I anticipated this debate. I wanted to see it. I wanted to watch what would happen. Even though I knew Donald Trump's character and I knew Joe Biden's character, and I knew about basically where each one of them were going to go with every single thing that they were saying, I still kind of wanted to watch it, right? I want to see that what is this train wreck going to be like? I like the long debate format. I like the long discussion formats. There's been a petition out there to have Joe Rogan host one of these things, and Joe said, the only way I'll do it is if we get both of them in a room basically by themselves. I've got one fact checker behind me who can, internet search everything. And we just sit down for 3 hours and have a discussion between the three of us. That would be such an amazing debate format. Absolutely 100% behind that, because that is probably the most informative thing you could ever do in order to actually tell the electorate what people stand for, is have an actual... And not to say Joe Rogan's impartial, right? He's already come out and basically said he's going to vote for Joe Biden, right? He was a Bernie Sanders supporter. But the thing is, when you compare Joe Rogan, he's honest, right? He's honest about where he stands on things. He's not one of these people that pretends to be impartial. He tells you, right? And that's what makes him kind of interesting, is because you know that he's not being fake about what he's asking, even as wild as they can be, right? I think he got some really undue flack for the whole Antifa fire thing in Oregon and California. People are bashing him on that, but I think it's funny, and that's a whole other topic for some other time. But honestly, Joe... I doubt you're ever going to see this, but Joe, don't pay any mind to them, right? Just be you. Just do you. Think what you want to think, because that's what you should be able to do. You should be allowed. You're able to think for yourself, and that's one of the things that we value about the Joe Rogan experience, right? Is just the guy can. I don't agree with half of what he has to say, but that I still like to listen to what he has to say. Anyway. So let me switch back over to live screen transition. So yeah, I think these debates are a train wreck, absolutely, but it's a train wreck we're going to continue watching, and the news has every reason to continue to put these train wrecks on TV. The ratings are stupendous. They're stupendous. They're amazing. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's take a. I want to. Let me do this real quick. Let's read just a little bit more about this article because I noticed this. So I was talking about the comparison between Fox News and the other outlets. Look at this. Fox News, 57%. MSNBC, 47%. Each posted big gains over the comparable 2016 debate. So MSNBC is getting their viewership. So that's definitely happening. And each set records for a general election debate telecast, while CNN declined 15.5%. Oh, I love, honestly, like CNN is just one of the most corrupt. I hate to call, they're not even a news network. They're not news. I'm sorry to tell you, if you think CNN is a news network, I don't care what their name says, right? CNN is supposed to stand for Cable News Network. They are not. They are not a cable news network. They are a cable propaganda network. They are 100% in the Joe Biden camp. They are full in, all in for Joe Biden. They're the only, and even Fox News. I mean, Fox News is not a big fan of Donald Trump. There's really nobody that I know of that is just, in terms of the media, that is so pro Donald Trump. Even the Federalist, for crying out loud. If you pull up the Federalist, which I really like Federalist just to read. I don't always agree with them. But Federalist, like, these guys are not, they're definitely closer to the Donald Trump camp, but they're not fully in on it. Oh yeah, this whole thing, Chrissy Teigen, and John Legend. Yeah, that was, I saw that whole Twitter thread, and that's just a shameful Twitter thread. Just some, if you want to see what the bottom, like the absolute bottom of humanity looks like in terms of ideology, go look up Chrissy Teigen's timeline on Twitter. Look at this post where she posts a picture of, she's in the doctor's office here. And there's a big, long love letter that John Legend posted about losing their baby boy because she had a miscarriage. It is heartbreaking, and I get it. Like there's some that they are pro-abortion, so there's a lot of people that are like, you get what you deserve," kind of thing, and that's just awful. I'm sorry, but this is one of the reasons why I definitely can identify that there are people on the right that are just as disgusting as people on the left. Because people will go onto this Twitter feed and say that these people deserved this. That an unborn baby, deserved to die of a miscarriage because of their political beliefs. I'm sorry, but that makes you just as disgusting a human being as the people you think they are. Okay? That's it. You're sorry to go off on a tangent. This was not at all something I wanted to talk about, but just this is the problem with the electorate, right? Is that it's so polarized. It's so full of venom on both sides that we want to watch the car wreck. We want to see the clown car, just drive straight head first into the 72 Oldsmobile that's got smog coming out of its tailpipe. Right? We want to see this destruction and chaos because we've grown to hate the other side so much. And some of it, honestly, I can understand some of the perspectives. Like, I get why some of the vitriol and the hate is there. I can understand it. I don't think it should be expressed that way. I think that's exactly what has led to the decline of society, is when you get this polarization between the electorate, and until it just becomes, one side bashing the head of the other side over and over again, and just saying the most awful, horrible things until the base humanity of everybody is essentially gone because everybody else is the enemy. That's how you end up with war, right? That's how you define a war, is by identifying who the enemy is and then make them the worst possible people on earth. That's what you do. You criminalize and you dehumanize the opponent. And that's what we see. And that's what makes me worried about what's going on. I haven't really expressed this very often to too many people, but I think that we are headed for a civil war. I think that's a pretty large base of our electorate right now believes that same thing because of this exact type of thing, right? There's so much hatred and vitriol between both of these sides, and there's no agreement on anything. Like, if Donald Trump came out tomorrow and said the sky is blue, the Democrats would go, no, it's not, it's turquoise. Right? That's what they would say. No, it's not, it's turquoise. And we're willing to die on this hill. It is turquoise. That's what you'll get, right? Like, that's stupid. It's silly. It's obnoxious. It's annoying. And it's great TV. So I think that's what I'm going to end on. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I know it's been a long time since I've done one of these broadcasts. I should do more of them again. If I wasn't so busy with my job, I would be doing these every day. I really would, because I do like doing these kind of things where I can just pull up news articles, highlight some things, talk about them. And I'm no expert. I don't pretend to be an expert on any of this stuff. The only thing I'm an expert in is listening to people talk about their software problems. That's really all I'm good at. But there's just so much going on in America right now, and so much. And I think if you believe, so I know that a lot of people who subscribe to this channel and my other channel are from all sorts of different parts of the globe, right? I get, you might be from Mozambique, you might be from Chile, you might be from anywhere. And this may seem like it doesn't really matter, but I think we all know it does. I think we all know at some level that what happens in America right now, because we are the major world power, and we've got China nipping at our heels economically, we are dealing with a situation right now where the U.S., if it collapsed, if it had a civil war, the rest of the world would have some serious difficulties, right? Some serious problems. And China is poised to take over in a lot of those cases, right? They're poised to fill that vacuum wherever the U.S. goes, right? Russia and China, they're both kind of ready to go. At a moment's notice, they're ready to go. And that kind of scares me about what's going on in America, because if we destabilize, then the rest of the world destabilizes. So what's going on here with this politics, like, yeah, it seems like an insignificant thing going on between Trump and Biden. It's not insignificant. This is probably, and I hate that every single election year, everybody says, not everybody, I'm generalizing, but there's this big thought out there. This is the most important election of our time. And every 4 years, this gets trotted out, right? The most important election of our time. The most important election of our time. Every single 4 years. In this case, I think it's true. I really think that it's true. And I don't think that either side is going to win, right? Let me restate that. If either side wins, I think America still loses. So whoever wins, we lose. If Donald Trump wins, we lose. If Joe Biden wins, we lose. And that's one of the reasons why I think that a third party is so critical to this, but I think it's too late. I think that the electorate is so divided already at this point that there's just no way to reconcile and no way to accept a third party at this point. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the collapse of the two parties, or maybe this just leads everybody to be so dumbfounded by how poor the two candidates are. They decide, you know what, I've had enough of this. We're going to go vote third party. That's entirely possible. I'm going to give that a 3% possibility. I don't think it's going to happen. It probably is never going to happen. I don't think that there will be a viable third-party candidate in an election in my lifetime, in my remaining lifetime. I was barely alive. I was in middle school, right? Middle school, when Ross Perot was there, and that was not great. Renee says, the problem with people in government is that there are politicians in it. There are politicians in it. I can see civil war. Yep. Yeah, that's exactly it. The problem with people in government is that it's made up of politicians. And I think we could, if we did term limits, just think of how different our world would be if there were term limits. We got term limits on the presidency, but we need term limits on just the Senate and and the House. We really need to have those things. I don't know about the judiciary. I kind of like that being a lifetime appointment because it's a bit of a stall. It's a bit of a brick wall against things moving too fast, right? Man, when I think about how the founding fathers devised our system of government, it's amazing. It was so amazing how they crafted the three different branches of the government to all be, these checks against the power of the other branches. And doing it in such a way, to construct it in such a way that just limits the power of each because they're checked by the power of the others. It's such an incredible system. There's no other like it, right? There's some that are close. There are some that are very similar, but parliamentary systems are not at all like this, right? They're very different. The way that they crafted the government of the United States of America is incredible. The only flaw is the people, right? The people that get in there and figure out the ways to corrupt the system. Renee says, I know I'm generalizing, but the percentage has got to be super high that anybody running for office is in it for themselves. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I think one of the best arguments that if I was Donald Trump's campaign manager, I would say for 4 years, I have held this office and every single dime of what I have made while I'm in this office has gone to charity. Joe, will you make that pledge? Okay, then it's brilliant because of this. As soon as Joe says, yeah, I'll make that pledge, then you say, why didn't you make that pledge when you were a senator? All right, why didn't you make that pledge when you were a senator? Well, maybe that's not as genius as I think it is. That's probably not really getting at the heart of what I'm trying to go for. Man, I'll have to think about that a little bit more. Well, how would I do this? So, because the thing I want to get at is the fact that how can people who are making, I forget what the congressional salary is. It's like $250,000 or something. What is let me look that up. Congressional salary. If I can spell salary. Salaries of members of the Congress. This goes up to 2009. So up to 2009, it's in 2014 dollars. That's weird. So in 2009, it was $174,000 per year. $174,000 per year. So how is it that somebody making that much money are multimillionaires? How much money is Joe Biden worth at this point? Net worth of $9 million according to Forbes. $9 million. How do you become a multimillionaire? Because that is multi, right? A multimillionaire when you're making $174,000 a year. And actually, I mean, if I looked at where did I go? Where did I put those numbers? No, I dropped them. Okay, congressional salary. Oh, here we go. This is more recent. Well, actually, I wanted to do the hold on. Salaries of members. Okay, so I want to do this. Okay, I'm going way longer than I thought I would, but so if you look over the course of the years, now Joe Biden has been in office for 47 years. So now 2009 would have been 11 years ago. So that means 36 years, right? So he was in office for 36 years. That means his starting salary, if you go back 36 years, what's 36 from 2009? Oh boy. Make me do math. 60. So, okay. So, how many years? So 36 years, right? 36 years. So it'd have been 73, right? Yeah, that's right. Cause I remember him being in 73. So you look back here, 75, making $44,000 a year. And then another increase in 77, $57,000. Like, you look at these numbers, for 36 years, this was essentially what Joe Biden was making each year. I'll bet if you totaled all of this up, you don't get $9 million. I bet if you totaled up all of this money, you don't get $9 million. If Joe Biden saved every single penny of what he earned while he was in Congress, it wouldn't equal the amount that he's actually worth. How does he make money? Joe Biden doesn't do anything other than be a politician. That's his job. It's been his full-time job for 47 years. How does he have $9 million? How is his net worth $9 million? There's something else he's doing, right? Maybe it's investments. That's entirely possible. He's probably got investments. Well, if he's got investments, where are those investments? Remember this whole thing with Hunter Biden? Like, I thought it was funny when Trump, I don't know about this. I had not heard this until Trump brought it up, but the $2.5 million that Hunter Biden was paid by the Moscow, the mayor of Moscow, was that? I think that's what he was saying. I'd never heard that. I don't know if it's true or not, but you know what? I wouldn't be surprised. And that might be exactly how Joe Biden is getting some of his money. You just don't know. That's the thing. How are people in office for this long and they're multimillionaires? They're supposed to be public servants. They're not supposed to be multimillionaires out of this. They are in it for themselves. That's the thing. They make money by being politicians. They make money by being politicians. And it's not money because they are getting paid by the congressional purse, right? That's not where they're making their money. I forgot to actually show you this. This is the diagram. I forgot to switch over. Renee says, you only have to serve one term as a congressperson and you get retirement for life. What kind of shenanigans are those? That is California level shenanigans. Let me just say that. California level. Totally tangentially to this. Fun little thing. So I'm on, if you go to Reddit, here, let me, actually, I don't want to do this on that screen. Maybe I should log out, actually. Log out of my Reddit account. I don't want you to know who I am on Reddit, honestly. I don't. I like to keep that secret. Okay, but if you go to this one, okay, this I love this. This is great. So Reddit. So okay, totally. This has absolutely nothing to do with this video. Totally different thing, different subject. Don't see that. You didn't see that. I'm editing that out. Anyway, here's the Oregon subreddit. Okay. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Reddit, you have an up arrow and a down arrow. You can upvote and you can downvote on posts, and you can upvote and downvote on comments. So I can open up the comments of this, and I can look at, you know.
The reason why I brought up Gavin.
Yeah. Okay, whatever. But you can upvote and you can downvote. So typically these are two arrows, right? If I just pull up some other subreddit, I don't know, so we'll go to reddit.com and just pull up some subreddit. Ask Reddit. Okay. Notice that it's up arrows and down arrows, right? Up arrows, down arrows. Now, the moderators of these subreddits can change the look and the behavior of a lot of Reddit, but you still have the up arrows and down arrows, but you can change like the icons and stuff on it. You can change what's being displayed here. Like one really interesting one is called, what is it called? Mildly irritating or mildly infuriating. Yeah. Look at that. Like you can change this is awesome, right? Orange with gray. And also you can't see the body of the post. So the only way you can actually read it is to actually open it. Which, you know, is genius for a subreddit that is titled mildly infuriating. That's brilliant. But that's the kind of stuff you can do. So Oregon, their up arrow is the state of Oregon, their down arrow is the state of California. Just to give you an idea of what Oregonians think of Californians, that is the embodiment, that is the symbolic embodiment of what Oregonians think of Californians. You are the subreddit down arrow. So, yeah. Again, that's some of that vitriolic division, that enemy. California is the enemy. I totally get that. But honestly, if you lived here in Oregon, you've seen what's going on in Portland, right? Like, we all know what's going on in Portland. It is a train wreck. It is an awful, disgusting train wreck. Where do you think that all of those Californians are moving to? They're not moving to Burns. They might be moving to Madras and Medford. Not really. They're moving to Bend, where I live. They're definitely moving here. Not totally, right? Like, it's still a pretty good balance, I think. It's still about 50-50. But Californians are invading Portland. San Franciscoites are invading Portland. Seattleites are invading Portland. And Eugene and Salem and Corvallis. Like, that whole western coast, the valley, as we call it, the Oregon, the valley between the mountains, the coastal mountains and the Cascade Mountains, that whole area is being just inundated with Californians. And so the electorate for Oregon, like we used to be, when I was growing up here, it was slightly more conservative. Portland was definitely out there. It was the weird city in the state, right? But what we've got now is just chaos because of the things that are happening in terms of the absolute extremism that has left Seattle. Like, you think about how bad Seattle and San Francisco are, it gets so bad that the people who hate it the most are moving to Portland and then doing the same things there, to the point where it's even worse in Portland. Like, if you think about which city would you rather live in right now? Seattle, Portland, or San Francisco? Which city would you prefer to live in right now? They're all bad choices, right? Like, that's basically, that's the presidential election, right? Which city do you want to live in? Which horrible, awful, disgusting, deplorable city do you want to live in? That's essentially what our election process is. Yeah, I mean, it's the trifecta of bad cities, badly managed cities that are going bankrupt and costing the rest of their states their livelihoods. California's got it worse because they've got two major metropolitan cities that are just draining the economy in terms of LA and San Francisco, right? Those two areas are just destroying that state. If you go to other places like the Napa Valley area or the Northern California places like Redding, it's a totally different atmosphere. It's more rural. It's more, people living out in cabins and nice homes out in the forest. And, all those things, the reason why there was such horrible, destructive wildfires, those aren't affecting LA, right? So think about all these people being displaced by California right now, all the California wildfires and the Oregon wildfires. Most of those people are probably a little bit more conservative leaning, and they're having to evacuate the state. So as bad as we think that California and Oregon and Washington are in terms of political bias, it's only going to get worse. Yeah, it's like this whole left coast is just awful. Anyway, I really should probably end this stream here at this point. I got to go pick up my wife. She actually works, so I should probably go get her. She's about done with her day. Thanks, everybody, for joining me today. I switch over to this. Thanks for joining. I know this is a kind of impromptu stream. I went all over the place about all sorts of different things. I hope you guys enjoy it. Maybe I'll chop it up and edit it a little bit later. I probably need to do that because there's like 10 minutes of dead air at the beginning. I don't think too many people like watching dead air for 10 minutes unless you are watching a presidential debate. That's a funny, right? Hopefully you guys did enjoy this though. And if you did, don't forget to hit that like button to let me know and, favorite and subscribe to this channel. So thanks so much for everybody for watching. You have a great day.